Hey, man, really honored to have you today. If we haven't met, my name's Nate. It's a joy, a privilege to pastor here at Life Point. But if you are a first-time guest, you'll know very quickly that this church is not built on the personality of a pastor, but it's built on the amazing people that give and serve, from the parking lot to greeting to kid. I guess what I'm trying to say is, can you help me thank all of our volunteers that we call impact leaders today? They do an amazing job, and it's beyond Sunday, it's life groups, it's student ministry, and man, we're here to serve you however we can. So you're going to notice a couple things. One is in your seat back. We do something kind of unique. We call it Try 5. We just believe that it's going to take more than one try or one visit to fully see who we are as a church. So if you'll give us 5 tries over the course of those tries, we're just going to send you some emails to help you better understand who we are as a church. And then hopefully you want to get not just, you don't want to just show up, but you want to be a part of the vision of what God's doing right here. Hold on to that card. I'll tell you what to do at the very end. One of the things that is coming up tomorrow is a brand new month, and April's a big month for the life of our church. It's all going to kick off next Saturday, Walter Elijah, Easter Extravaganza. You ready, Life Point? It's going to be an amazing event. And you know what I love about this is our 7th, 8th year, somewhere in that ballpark, of partnering with the town of Fort Mill with this free event that we're able to offer to our community. And it's because of your regular generosity. It's about $8,000, if you're wondering, to put on an event of this magnitude for about 3,000 people is about what we see every year, 60,000 plus eggs. And we're able to do that because of your regular, faithful generosity. So those of you that give on a weekly, monthly basis, just know that as a church, we believe in tithing and giving back as well. And this is just one of the local things that we get to do amongst other things locally, domestically, and of course, internationally as well. So today when you give, just give with confidence, knowing that, man, what I'm doing, what I'm giving, you might think it's insignificant, but it really is a part of a bigger picture of what God's doing. And you're going to get to see it. If you come out next Saturday and you serve, which you should, because you can serve and your kids can go the egg hunt, and you can see the booth on the way out today. But I love, every year, this is the same thing. God will take a little plastic egg that we think, this is kind of silly, right? Like, there's a million egg hunts. Kids can do whatever they want. But it's amazing how God will take this little plastic egg, and we'll see people come to Life Point. We'll have conversations at the park. We'll pray. It's inevitable. And next thing you know, people are giving their life to Christ, getting baptized, getting in life groups, becoming ministry leaders, all because if they trace it back, they'll say, oh, yeah, one year we went to this free egg hunt. So don't think next weekend that this is just, some little goofy thing that we do. There's really, I believe, eternal things on the line, and it's just one way to touch the community and offer just God's love to them. So I hope you're making plans to come out to participate and to serve. And then Easter weekend, y'all, we're 3 weekends away from Easter at Life Point, and I want to help prepare you, and you're going to see this right here. We got our service times. In order to make this the best Easter we've ever had at Life Point, we're going to be offering 4 identical services. It's going to kick off on April the 20th at 5 p.m. And here's what I want to challenge you to do. And this is the noon service, so y'all already prefer people over preferences, because the fact that you come to noon, this is my group right here. I love you guys. Thanks for doing this. But I want you to think about Easter this year, not as traditional, but as missional. Not as traditional, but as missional. And because, we all got our Easter traditions. We wear the dresses and the hats, and, we want to get our photos. And Easter can only be on Sunday morning. Really? Y'all know Jesus didn't resurrect on April 21st. You know that, right? Every Sunday as a follower of Jesus should be resurrection. I could preach, but I'm not going to get into that. Here's what I know. If you'll make a point, unless you got a friend coming or you're serving on Sunday, if you'll make a point to come Saturday at 5, I know it seems little, but you really are being missional by opening up a seat on Sunday. There's no doubt people are going to come on Sunday because that's what they're looking for in the traditional sense. But just by you coming on Saturday to say, you know what, no, we're going to give up my seat on Sunday for somebody else, and then you can have your whole day Sunday. So be praying about that. Matter of fact, to get you ready, we're going to give you invite cards on your way out. I think there's 5 in a bundle, so you can start inviting people, spreading the word. This is just one of those times where if you fumble the invitation, somebody will probably show up with you. And God does incredible things. So partner with us. Is that good? Y'all excited about it? Okay, it's going to be good. Well, today we are in part 2 of a series we started last Sunday called Casual Christianity. And I love the play on words on this title. It's really preparing our hearts for Easter. We don't want to approach Easter as casual. We don't want to approach Jesus as casual, but really, what does it mean to follow him? Like when we said yes to Jesus, if you did, what did you say yes to? And so today, part 2, you get a treat. You get to hear from our journey pastor, your journey pastor, Pastor Chris. And if you don't know Chris, he's over all of our life groups and Full Life Growth Track, Discover Life Point event that's happening today. Him along with Gina Keeley and amazing volunteers that make all of that happen. And what I love about Chris is what you see on the stage is what you get. Like he's the real deal. He's authentic, and more than a pastor, he really is one of my best friends. And so put your hands together. Can we do that for our journey pastor, Pastor Chris? Come on up here, man.
Yeah, awkward transition. Grab the mic. Corded mic. You like that? It is not my preference. It is, Nate already mentioned this. We had some technical difficulties, so I'm just going to throw it out there. But let me tell you this. This team, I mean, we say technical difficulties, you don't care. But it's not just one thing. It's been a lot of things, and it's just weird. So what does that tell you? Something's up, right? So get ready for that. And Keith Dudley has just been amazing back there. Thanks, Keith, the sound team. Because I want to tell you, that's very stressful to those guys. They work really, really hard to make this stuff go off well. And when you have everything kind of falling apart, it's stressful. And these guys have handled it like champs. So thank you guys for what you do. So let's jump in here. We're in the second week, as Nate said, of casual Christianity. So let's think through that. And I'm going to kind of go back last week and grab something because I want to pick up right where we left off last week. So casual Christianity, it's Christianity that when we embrace it to the extent that we take it too casually, or it's just, not a big deal. And what happens is it wasn't meant to be taken casually. It's a very serious commitment, but we end up turning upside down the whole concept of what being a Christ follower means. So Nate started us out, and he threw out this huge challenge of, will you take the trade? Jesus is offering you something, and there's all of these other things that we're vying for, that we're embracing. And the question is will you embrace Jesus, take the trade, give up your stuff for what Jesus has to offer? And then, if you remember, kind of lands a plane last week with this big idea of there's usually something that is stopping us from taking the trade. There's usually something in our life, that we're holding on to that is keeping us from taking the trade. So the question was, what are you holding on to? So I don't know where you're at today, so let's throw out a couple of things before I jump in really hard on this. And that is, maybe you decided to follow Jesus. Maybe you've been a follower of Jesus, but some of this is new to you. Maybe you're thinking about it. Maybe you know what your obstacle is that's keeping you from fully following him. But I want to take it to a whole nother level. For this to fully take place, what does it look like? When he says, follow me, what does that consist of? And we're going to pick it up in John chapter 6. Go ahead and turn there in your digital Bibles, if you would. Open those up. If you're over 55, you can open up your paper Bible. I'm sorry. Some of you are 55, but you're not. You've got the digital out. You're proud of it. Yeah. But it's okay. I got paper up here, too. We're good. But it's true, right? There's no reason to carry paper around anymore. I'm just saying. They got these things called phones now. You can just put it all on there. And you know what? It's free. Matter of fact, they're just giving it away to everybody. You can get every version of the Bible on your phone for free. You're welcome. Just so you know. So here's what we're going to do. Let me catch us all the way up. You're in John chapter 6, should be, if you're not, get there. I'm going to start at the beginning, and I'm going to kind of go really quickly and get us to verse 25, but we're going to look at the entire chapter. So the first part, if you notice, if you got your digital Bibles open or your paper ones, you see at the very top, it'll probably say feeding of the 5,000 as your top-notch thing, right? So the very first thing that happens in this one is when Jesus does this miraculous event where the huge fish fry takes place. You remember the fish and the loaves, and he takes these few and he multiplies them, feeds 5,000 people, and it's really more than 5,000 because for some reason they only mention some of the people, but there's more people. There's just tons of people, and they get fed. Huge miracle, craziness, right? And there's a lot of leftovers. Remember, they collected the leftovers and all this stuff. So then Jesus said, hey, guys, I'm out of here, so I'm gone. So he takes off, and the disciples go ahead of him on the boat, and then the second crazy story happens in this chapter. So these are big stories we preach all the time. They get in a boat, they're going across the water, and it's the walking on the water. You probably see that in your little headline too. And so Jesus walks on water, he gets in the boat, big event, goes on over to Capernaum. Now, I'm going to say that the next morning or at some point, some of the folks that were hanging out with Jesus are like, hey, that fish fry was delicious. And I saw them collecting some leftovers, and I think that would be delicious. Where's Jesus at? And they're like, Jesus is gone. He's went to the other side. He's out of here. And they're like, well, let's go find some Jesus. And so a bunch of them pile into boats and whatever, and they head on over to find Jesus. Then they find Jesus, and we're now at verse 25. How's that? We got there pretty quick. I'm out of breath. All right, let's take a look. 25. When they found him on the other side of the sea, they said to him, hey, Rabbi, when'd you get here? That's a southern version of that text right there. When'd you get on over here? And Jesus said to them, truly, truly, I say to you, you are seeking me not because you saw signs, but because you ate your fill of the loaves. See, what's happening is you're hungry, it was delicious, and you're looking to come eat again. You don't want me. You don't want me, you want what I'm offering. You want my hand, not my heart. So he throws that on out there, and they're like, all right, that was a little awkward. And that's just a beginning, because it gets far worse than that. So I believe that many of us, this is kind of the problem in today's culture. It's the problem in the church today, that I feel like part of the problem is many of us have showed up today to see what we can get our little Jesus fix, so we can have a good week, right? And, a Jesus fix so that, sort of like a lucky coin or rubbing a Buddha belly or something. If I go do this, my life should be better. I've heard people say this, have given everything a try. Might as well try Jesus, and thinking I'll just go to a church service and it'll make my life all better. But the problem is when you're looking for his hand, you rarely ever find his heart. Now, I know right now everybody's going, this is not the Chris I know. He's just going straight to preaching. Where's that funny story? You usually start with a very, very funny story, but this is not funny at all. Just stop it. Just stop right now. So about 15 years ago or so, I was up in Shenandoah Valley. I took my boys on a trip up to the mountains in Virginia, and was at this resort, very nice resort. They got golf, and they got swimming places and hiking trails, whatever they do up in the mountains. They had it all. And so we were there, and we were checking in, and at the front desk, did all the checking in. And then the guy said, hey, you a golfer? I said, man, I love some golf. But I didn't bring my clubs. He said, no problem. We got clubs and, the golf course and all this stuff. And I said, well, I also don't have $500,000 to play a round of golf, so I'm just going to say no. He said, well, I'll give you golf for this whole week if you want it. I said, you're going to give it to me for free? Yeah, I'll give it to you free. I'm all about free now. I like some free golf. I'm not going to lie to you. If you're going to give it to me, he said, well, there's a catch. If you'll go through a 90-minute tour and presentation. What's funny is I tell it every service and people laugh. There's about over half the crowd starts laughing, and the other half, what they laughing at? What's so funny? It's not that big of funny. So let's just get it out. We heart to heart here, right? There's nobody else in here but us, so let's just have a little counseling session. First of all, do you know what it was? It was the timeshare, right? Everybody know what that is? And I'll explain it for those of you that don't, but I just need to know before I get into this. So how many of you, come on, just us in this room, how many of you bought it? You got one in the back, they're being honest. Got some honesty over here. Nobody else, some honesty over there. There you go. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. Now, it's twice that, but there's about half that are going, I'm not telling anybody that. I'm not going to do it. These are the people who don't care. They're like, trust me, I tried to sell it. I've called the phone numbers. I've had it for 20 years. Ain't nobody buying it. So, yeah. See, everybody's laughing at has it. Yeah, boy, we had it. We got it on Craigslist and everything else. So, you're saying, I'll give it to you, but ain't nobody taking it. No, seriously, you can have it if you'll just pick up the payments. Anyway, so here's the thing about that. I am like, listen, I started feeling guilty because I knew what it was. I knew what was going down. So I said to the guy, and timeshares, by the way, is they take you through a presentation and they make you make payments every year, and you had to put some money down, and then you have free vacations for the rest of your life. Free. It's completely free. So, and they sell it good. So I'm like, nah, look, I know kind of what's going down. I'm not buying anything. I feel guilty. I just want the free golf. The guy's like, oh, no, man, it's cool. We'll give you the free golf. They don't care. Just go through the presentation, tell them you don't want it, and they'll give you the free golf. And I said, listen, I don't think you understand. And my wife was with me. And I said, ask my wife, I'm the cheapest person on the planet. No, seriously, there is no sales pitch that you're going to give me that I'm buying a timeshare. I'm going to tell you, ask her. He's cheap. He ain't buying a timeshare. I said, I just want the free golf. And he says, dude, it's cool. We want to give you the free golf, but this is the requirement. Okay, I'm in. So I show up this thing, me and Holly do, and the guys does this tour, does it. You do the whole bit, sell on the place and how great and amazing it is, and then they take you in a room. Anybody been in the room? You know what I'm talking about. You go in the room, they sit you down, and the pitch begins. They're crafty. They're crafty little suckers. And they are creative, just super creative. And they're just going on. And I said, hey, I told the guy, I just want to make sure you know, you feel free to do your pitch. But I'm not buying. I just want the free golf. And he's like, no, that's cool, but I got to go through, they make me go through it. And I was like, all right, well, then go through it. And he starts doing it. And I say, I just want the free golf. And he goes, well, listen, I can tell that you're kind of committed to this path and everything, so I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you a deal. We never give this deal. I'm going to give you a special deal today. It's a one-time opportunity. And I'm saying, is that deal free golf this week? Because I'm all about that deal, but I don't know what else you're talking about because I'm not listening, to be honest with you. I've not been present for quite some time. I've just been looking around for that voucher, and I don't see it anywhere. It's not laying on the table. And he's like, okay. He says, sounds like that you're not going to do this. I said, well, I don't know what part of I just want free golf that you are not picking up on. I feel like I'm speaking English, but apparently you don't hear English. I'm not buying it. And so they're like, well, hang on a second. It's part of our requirement. The manager's got to come in and sign off on it. And I'm like, just tell him, I just want my voucher. Make sure he brings it with him because I just need that bad boy so I can get on up out of here. And so he said, okay. So the guy comes in, he says, so the guy says that you're not interested. And I said, I don't know how that's hard to understand because I've said it a lot. I said, I want my free golf. I am here for free golf. And he goes, so what I hear you saying is that you just want the free golf. And I said, that's pretty much what I'm saying. He said, well, I'm going to tell you what, you're a hard sell. I'm not going to lie to you. You've been pretty committed to this whole thing. And I'm going to give you a deal that is, we never give this deal away because I'm just curious if there's anything that you'll take. And I said, is it the voucher for the free golf? Because I don't know what you don't understand. I didn't even bring a checkbook. I don't have a credit card. I'm not buying. And he's saying whatever he says, and I says, no, free golf, please. And he says, all right, you can have your free golf. And I walked out the door. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I am timeshare free. That's all I'm saying. And I feel good about it. And I do feel bad for those of you that walked that journey. I know it was terrible. My heart hurts for you. Now, how in the world does this apply to anything? Because when I read this story, honest to goodness, the first thing I think of, these guys were committed. They had some free fish, and then they went across. They're like, we're here for the free fish. And Jesus is like, I don't think you understand. I'm not offering free fish. I'm offering something more. That's temporary. I want to give you something eternal. And they're like, is that free fish? Because I'm pretty much here just for the free fish. That fish was delicious yesterday. I don't know what seasoning you used on it, but it was miraculous. And he's like, no, I don't think you understand. We're not giving out free fish today, but I'm giving you eternal life. You can hang out with me. I don't think you're understanding because we're here for the free fish. And that's pretty much what's going down in this whole story. You don't believe me? Well, let me just show you. See, they had an agenda that they wanted, and it was all about one thing. They had a plan, right? And Jesus is like, no, I got a different plan. And for us, we usually have an agenda. There's a reason that we go looking for things and looking for some of Jesus. And we have our purposes, our little, I just want this. I need a better marriage. My kids are awful. They are terrible. Jesus has got to do something about that quick. And so we want something, constantly look for it. And he goes, no, I'm not giving that out. I got something bigger for you. So I've titled my message. I never do this. This is a Nate thing. Nate loves to tell you his titles. Now, I don't know why, because nobody cares. I've never seen anybody write a title down. It's like, that title changed my life. I'm not that guy. I don't care. But today, I'm going to make an exception. Because on my notes, I always put the title at the top. What's the big idea? What's the problem? What's the next steps? Now, kind of how I start my whole thing out. But I never share it. It goes up online or something. But today, I'm so excited to tell you the title of my sermon is Eat Me. I've been wanting to say that for a long time. Eat me is the title of my sermon. Eat me. Title of the sermon is Eat Me. That's true. I'm going to put it up here on the screen in case you didn't hear me. You read, eat me. And I've offended probably about half the people. This is a church. That's a preacher? No church I've ever been to. No, you've never been to a church like this before. I'm going to go ahead and tell you. The fact that there are still people in this room after I've preached ever is still a miracle. We're still trying to figure it out. You might be offended, but if you are, then you're really not going to like today's message. Because that's offensive, me saying it, but what Jesus said is far worse than what I just said. That's the truth. So I just wanted to set you up. I want you to get mad at me first, and then when it happens with Jesus, you're going to go, okay, that's a little weird. But that's exactly what's getting ready to happen. All right, let's pick up it. We've already done 22. We've already told the story there. So now let's keep going. Let's look at 30 through 34. We're just going to walk through the text. You ready? So remember where we are. All that's happened. Jesus has this little confrontation, and then here's what happens after he's pretty much saying, you didn't come here for me, you want some food. And so they said to him, hey, what sign do you do? We want to see that so we can believe you, so do something for us. And I love this last line. This is beautiful. And this is worth writing down, underlining, circling, highlighting, whatever you do with your digital stuff. What work do you, what? Perform. We want to see you do something. Put on a show for us, Jesus, because that was amazing yesterday. Now, they're saying that, but they just want the fish, just so you know. And here's how I know, because I read 31. Our fathers ate the manna in the wilderness. And that's going back to Moses, because back in that day and time, Moses, poured down manna from heaven. This is around the same time frame. It's the time of Pentecost when this is going on, so it's kind of a holy thing and a holy moment. So they're connecting the dots in time with what's going on here. So back in time, Moses did that. So that must be what you're doing, so we like that. And as it is written, here it goes, check this out. He gave them bread from heaven to eat. So they're using the Bible to say, seems like it's been going on for a long time. A lot of good fish. We'd like some more of that fish. Now, I know they said to eat the bread, but they're talking about fish, just so you know, because that's what they had the day before. Jesus then said to them, truly, truly, I say to you, it was not Moses who gave you bread from heaven, but it was my Father who gives it to you, the true bread from heaven. Now, he's setting himself up for something in just a second, but hang tight. We'll get there. Because that's a setup for something he's going to say to them. So he's saying, that bread didn't come from Moses. It was from God. Okay? For the bread of God is he who comes down from heaven and gives life to the world. Still haven't said what that is yet. They said to him, Sir, give us this bread always. So now their thing is still literal. He's like, God gives it. It wasn't Moses, and God's going to give it. It's him. He gives it, and it gives life to the world. And they're like, dude, I want some of that bread right there. Bring it on, because all I want is the fish. Now, I say that because here in this point, you're starting to see this pattern. Starting to see this thing. They're looking for his hand, not his heart. They keep wanting, hey, when are you going to give us the good stuff? And then Jesus reminds them of something really big, and here's where the offensiveness begins to creep in. It's just level one. This isn't super offensive maybe to you because you're super churched and you've heard all this before. Highly offensive to them. Okay, check this out. Let's look at 35. Jesus said to them, I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me shall not hunger, and whoever believes in me shall never thirst. Now, this is level one. This is level one. He's saying, we talked about God. God's the one who gives the bread. It's his bread. It's holy and all this stuff. He says, hey, guys, it's me. Now, there's two problems going on, but they're thinking of the first problem. And the first problem is, are you saying that you came down out of heaven, that God sent you? Are you insinuating in some way that you might be God? And we know this later on in verse 41 that I won't read, but they begin to be very offended by what's going on in this situation. Okay? So craziness. This is the problem with these people. They're starting to get offended. Like, hey, wait a minute, you're not God. Don't start claiming to be God. Now you're just starting to get weird. So he starts to ratchet up these weird, offensive moments. But it gets far worse. So we're going to scoot on down. Jesus repeats himself a couple of times, it really emphasizing the point. And then he gets down to 51. And here's where it gets crazy. You ready for this? Craziness. I am the living bread that came down from heaven. If anyone eats of this bread, he will live forever. I'm the bread. You eat me, you live forever. He hadn't even said eat me yet. He's just insinuating it. Okay, verse 52. And the bread that I will give for the life of the world is my flesh. So now he's starting to say, hey, that bread we're talking about, it's right here. Just keep going, 52. The Jews then disputed among themselves, saying, how can this man give us flesh to eat? Now they're saying, no, this is a little weird. Is he saying that we are to eat him? So Jesus said, okay, maybe you didn't hear me. Let me see if I can say it another way, 53. So Jesus said to them, truly, truly, I say to you, unless you eat the flesh of the Son of Man and drink his blood, you have no life in you. Yeah, I want you to eat me, and now, no longer just eat me, I also want you to drink my blood, you bunch of vampires. All right, 54. Whoever feeds on my flesh and drinks my blood has eternal life, and I will raise him up on the last day. So we're getting confused. Oh, let's say it again, 55. For my flesh is true food, and my blood is true drink. In case you didn't hear me, I'm saying eat me, drink me. Eat me, drink me. 56, whoever feeds on my flesh and drinks my blood abides in me, and I in him. I don't want you to be confused when I'm saying. I'm saying you have to eat me and drink me. 57, as the living Father sent me, and I live because of the Father, so whoever feeds on me, he also will live because of me. 58, this is the bread that came down from heaven, talking about himself, not like the bread the fathers ate and died. And that's interesting. He goes back to that point. Hey, they ate the bread from heaven, that manna, they died. So even if I was to give you bread, you'd still die. Because then where he goes, and whoever feeds on this bread himself will live forever. And we have 59, but we'll skip that one. So, pretty, I don't know what to do with this other than say, he's just pretty much saying, you got to eat me, drink my blood. Eat me, drink my blood, eat me, drink my blood. Was I not clear? You're going to have to eat me, drink my blood. And they're going, dude, we just want the fish. This is way more than we were thinking about. What in the world are you doing? Just give us the fish. Now, I want to think about this for a second. When I was doing this and preparing for this, immediately one of the first thoughts that came to my mind was the concept of we are what we eat. Has anybody ever heard that phrase before? We are what we eat, right? Which is hilarious because I just had some liver mush this week, twice. Yeah, delicious. Any other liver mush fans? Wow, there's a lot in this room. That's about as many as the last hour, and the last hour was packed out. First hour, like 2 or 3, and the rest of the day, like 2 or 3 people threw up. I'm not going to lie to you. They just, right there. The other thing is, if y'all seen, that's sad that I say that. Have y'all seen the movie Super Size Me? Anybody seen that? So I didn't. I just thought I'd bring it up. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't see it. I didn't. I know what it's about. I've seen everything. Morgan Spurlock does this documentary thing. It's 30 days, and all he eats is McDonald's food for 30 days. And he has to eat it 3 times a day, and 3 meals, 3 of his meals. And he has to do a different menu item, so that he ends up eating everything on the menu within 30 days. And if they ever say, would you like to supersize it, he has to supersize it and eat it. And he has doctors on staff and checking them all out constantly and make sure he's okay. So first of all, let me just tell you this. I do not eat McDonald's. I have found in my lifetime that when I eat McDonald's, I immediately go to the bathroom. I mean, it's like, boom. There's a very short line. Eat bathroom. I don't know if y'all have had this problem before. And it's funny because every 2 years or so will go by and I'll get nostalgic because when I was little, I was a Big Mac guy. I would go to McDonald's, I'd get a Big Mac, and I'd start thinking, you know what, I hadn't had a Big Mac in a long time. You know, Big Mac, some fries. I need to go do that. And I would get the Big Mac, go to the bathroom, and then never have I ever said after eating a Big Mac, that was a great idea. You know, I should do that again soon. I do not. And then 2 years goes by and I forget how terrible it was. And the experience is awful. It's just terrible. And I know some of you are like, how can you say that? Because I've eaten at McDonald's and it was terrible. So I say all that, three meals a day for 30 days. Y'all didn't like my McDonald's references there. That's all right. Let me tell you what happens to Spurlock. After 1 month of eating this delicious food, he gains 24 pounds. 24 pounds. His cholesterol level goes up 65 points in 1 month. I don't even know what that means. I never checked my cholesterol. But 65 sounds like a lot. And by the gasp from a few of you, that sounds like it was a lot. I do know body fat percentage because I have a lot of that. And it went from 11% to 18%. Is that crazy? I'm not sure how they figured this out. It says it here, but I can't read those words. But his risk of coronary heart disease doubled. And then it's a bunch of stuff that I don't understand, and I'm not even going to try to read it. In 2 weeks, in just 2 weeks of doing it, his liver, this is insane, his liver developed enough fat around it that it began to leak out enzymes. It's called a sick liver. Duh. Yeah. My point is this: don't eat McDonald's. That's all I'm trying to say. Funniest part of this story, seriously, and some of you guys are going, you're just like me, because I've always said all that stuff is stupid, and because I could care less. I just eat whatever. I don't eat a lot of fast food, so this story doesn't bother me. But here's the funny thing about that story. McDonald's has never refuted it. Ever. To this day, they've never said a word about it. True story. Go check it out. I do think that's fascinating because typically you want to get on top of it. But according to McDonald's statistics, 40 million people will eat McDonald's today, and that's more people than are in most countries. So just a heads up. So I'm not a big person who gets into, and when I think about that phrase, you are what you eat, always sounded weird to me. Then you see stuff like that and you go, okay, that's interesting. But scientifically, let me tell you what happens. So your body, every single day, every hour, millions and millions of your cells are reproducing. Old cells die, new cells are developed. In a given day, billions of new cells will develop inside of your body. Do you know what the fuel source for every one of those single cells are? What you eat. So quite literally, you are what you eat. Now, I don't say that because I'm a health nut and that I'm trying to encourage you to start eating kale. I advise against it. It is terrible. It tastes like burnt cardboard or something. So I'm not advocating because you're like, Chris, we did not come in here to be preached about health. You know, I got to go eat a Big Mac. I could care less. Go eat a Big Mac. What I am saying emphatically is the correlation between what you eat and who you are is very similar to who you are in Christ. What you eat every single day in life correlates to what comes out in your life. For example, if you eat and consume negativity every single day of your life, you will be negative. If you consume this discontentment and you're not happy at work, you're not happy with your marriage, your children are losers, or you hate your job and the career that you found yourself stuck in, if you consume that kind of information every day, guess what happens? You become discontent. And it multiplies by factors of 5 and 10 and 20%. The more that goes on and the more that you consume it every day. The stuff that you take in on the internet and the news outlets like Fox News and CNN and all this weird stuff, you can't tell me that as you consume this garbage, full-on garbage, read these stupid articles that then vomit doesn't come out of you, that then creates hatred, discontent, and division in the United States. And just for your information, just so you know, it's coming from Russia. That's a fact. Russia is getting you to this. Listen, seriously though, what would be the best way to take the United States down? From the inside. You can't beat us on the outside. Nobody's going to beat our military. But you can beat us on the inside because why? We're just stupid enough to eat up this garbage. And then we live it out. And I say all of that because that's the problem. It's the same thing with our faith. If you continue to take in information and all this stuff, your life begins to live it out in reality. And what Jesus is trying to get back to is something quite simple. He is saying, no, I need you to eat me. I need you to drink my blood. I need you to consume yourself with me. Because you know what comes out of that? Jesus. If you consume him and are wrapped around him, then you look like him. But here's the thing I just figured out. Even me talking about this, it's uncomfortable. Even in your mind, you're going, man, you just sound like one of those religious weirdos. because that's far worse than just being a normal weirdo, which I'm doing a really good job at. It's like, that's a terrible idea. That's a terrible idea. But listen, you're not the only one, because think about it. These guys did the same thing. They were in the middle of what they were doing. We just want the fish. We want you to feed us. We want to grab this stuff for ourselves. And think about it, it's a me-centric mentality where it's all about me and I just need to eat. And it was so crazy to them that here's what happened. Look at verse 66. Notice what happens. This craziness is going on in verse 66. After this, after he said all this, eat me, drink me, eat me, drink me, eat me, drink me, many of the disciples turned back and they no longer walked with him. They're going, this dude's crazy. And even some of you hearing what I'm saying today, you don't see the dichotomy or the difference, the stretch between what we are consuming on every day, and you don't think that's weird, but the idea that we consume Jesus and involve ourselves around him and who he is and what he's about, that's craziness to us. So what we'll do is say, nah, I can't have any of that, and we go back to doing whatever it is that we do. So I want to challenge you with this thought process. They all leave and all that kind of stuff, and here's what I've kind of figured out about us. Here's the problem, and I'm going to put it up on the screen. What we want, and when you think about it, what we're basically saying is what I want is God's hand, but what he's offering me is his heart. And as long as we look for his hand, we'll never, ever get his heart. And so Jesus ultimately, when we think about religion as a whole, he's wanting a relationship. And religion then says, no, you don't need a relationship. You need activities. You need boxes to check. You need things to do. And he said, no, I just need you to consume yourself with me. Just sit at my feet. Nothing else matters. Just be about me. We need to drop the religious traditions and the things that kind of distract us from what matters most, going through the motions and all of these kind of things, and just seek me. And then all of that's laid out there. Now keep in mind, before I read this next two verses, because this is crazy, they don't understand yet that it's a metaphor. Here we are thousands of years later looking back. We know the stories, it's a metaphor, whatever. They don't know that. They're thinking, this guy's saying to eat him and to drink his blood. And that's crazy. So the first group, they dissipate. But here's the group. Let's just read it. 67. So Jesus said to the 12, do you want to go away as well? He's basically saying, well, what about you guys? They're all walking away. What about you? What about you? And that's the question for you today. What about you? What are you going to do? And I love Peter. Peter in 68, guy's crazy. And I like him a lot because, and I'm not even in his league. I'm worse than he is, but he gives me hope. And because Peter's the guy who messes up all the time. Says stupid stuff, gets off track a lot, says things he shouldn't say, and that's definitely me. But at the end of the day, as for much as he gets in trouble and as much as he does weird stuff, this is his heart. Simon Peter answered him, Lord, to whom shall we go? Where are we going to go? You are all that we got. You're it. And here's what we've learned in this short time. You have the words of eternal life. It's you. We have committed ourselves to you completely. That's it. And so that's the challenge before us is, hey, do you reach this point? Let me give you the big idea, because I think this is the whole sermon. If you could wrap it all up in one statement, it would be this right here. I trust Jesus enough to follow him even when I don't understand. That our commitment to Christ is so great and our embracing of him is to the point that no matter what, and no matter how crazy it gets, no matter what he comes to me with, you're all I've got. You're all I got, and even when I don't understand it, God, I'm going to follow you. And I bring this up because I feel like there are three lines that keep most of us from two lines, and they're trying to get the third one. These are what I call three lines of faith that we have to cross in our walk with Jesus. So think about this. So the first line of faith is this one. I'm going to follow Jesus as long as I benefit. So for many of us, our initial embracement of Jesus, and this is not everybody. I had a radical conversion when I was a kid. I skipped 2 lines and went to 3. But here's the reality is that we back and forth. Just because you cross the third line doesn't mean you won't fall back into this and we find ourselves in a trap. But many of us, in our initial line of faith, we say, hey, I'm going to follow Jesus as long as I get something out of it. And that's the hand mentality. I like Jesus and everything, but how does it benefit me? And I know this is going to come as a shock to you, but there are many people who believe that if I hang out with Jesus, he'll make me rich. What New Testament are you reading? That is the weirdest stuff. And the fact that they say it so convincingly, and it's like they missed the entire book. It's like Jesus said, hey, you follow me, you're probably going to die. You follow me, you will be persecuted. The majority of the New Testament is about how do you make it in this sucky world. It's going to be awful if you follow me. But let me give you some tips. How to survive, how to make it, how to deal with grief, how to deal with pain, how to deal with suffering. That's the majority of the New Testament. So get that out of your mind. It is not about what you can benefit. It is about him and him alone regardless of what happens. Second line of faith that we come into, because some of us say we start going to Jesus and we say, oh, but Jesus is pretty awesome. I hear what he's saying. And some of us reach the point where we say, hey, I'm going to believe in him enough to contribute when it's convenient. So what I'm going to do is, I start coming, I say, okay, I'll see what's going on. You know what? I wouldn't mind giving a little bit. I got a little extra something in my pocket, and we drop a quarter in the offering plate or whatever our amount is. And then some of us say, you know what? I got an hour or two. I'll go volunteer. I'll give him an hour, because why not? I love Jesus, and he's amazing, isn't he? And so I'll go give him an hour of time because it's convenient. But what I've found is this, that as we begin to do the little things, God is always faithful. And he begins to show up. He begins to show up in your life, and you get to know him. And then hopefully we reach the point that we come to the third line, and it's this one. I trust Jesus enough to lay down my life completely. Here it is. I just give you all of it. Here it is, God. I just trust you with all of it. Even when it doesn't make sense. Even when it's crazy, God, I'm with you completely. So let me revisit this big idea one more time. One more time. I trust Jesus enough to follow him even when I don't understand. That's what he's asking. Even when I don't understand, I consume him, I live with him, because remember that last phrase he says, this doesn't make sense, but God, here's the thing, you are the source of eternal life. That little bit, I get it. I get that. So, okay, whatever. I'm going to trust you. I don't understand it. It's craziness, but I'm going to trust you. Here's why that matters. I feel like we've lost that. I'm not saying everybody's lost it, but I think the church as a whole has lost this big picture that God is still alive and doing well. We're in this nation, we're in decline. We're under 15% of the population who faithfully follow Jesus on a given week. Once you drop below 10%, you're in what's called the unchurched world. You begin to join nations like Europe and a lot of the countries in Europe that are beginning to fall below that 10% mark, and it becomes a secular nation. And don't even get me started on, don't play with those terms too much, but in the sense that it begins to be more and more godless is the point of that. But then you have places like Africa and China that's communist, that it is exploding and Jesus is alive and people are trusting him and they're thinking different. But listen, in our culture, with the division that we see currently in our culture, the racial division, the political division over stupid stuff, then we think about the problems that we're having with kids who are getting pregnant. This calamity of a moral decay in the sense of we're just doing things that are so bizarre, and our lack of care and our discompassion when it comes towards people who are struggling and in need. We begin to do the blame game. It's their fault. If they just would have done this, we become these people that are just, who are we? We don't believe anymore that God is still alive and God is asking us to do things that are inconceivable, that are crazy. But we don't trust him enough to say, God, okay, I'll do it. You think about it. We struggle with work, and here's what we struggle with. I'm not happy. I'm not making enough money. I'm not living where I want to be. I didn't get the position position that I deserve. And so we start to bicker and complain. But if I consume Jesus and he is all that I have, you know what happens? My job becomes my mission field. And listen, I'm not worried about going to get a pay raise. I'm not asking where I'm going to live. I'm asking God, where has he called me? And it may be to make less money, not more money. What neighborhood do I live in? And in Fort Mill, we know what that is, the richest and the best. We want the best for our kids. But what if God called you to the least? Would we go? I don't think we would. Listen, I believe that, this is what I think our children say, I'm going to go on the mission field. And we say, no, are you crazy? It's dangerous. No, my friend, it's dangerous to not go. You become heartless. We become people who value this life and not the eternal life. And Jesus said, man, consume me. Eat me. And then I'm going to ask you to do things. And you're going to go, that's crazy. And that's when you go, yes, exactly. I'm right where I'm supposed to be. And we start daring to do things different in our city. You want to solve the teen pregnancy problem? Consume Jesus. Start living different, where they begin to see hope in people who claim to be people of faith. They begin to see people who actually love Jesus, and their lives are different, and then they want it. Right now, there is nothing the church is offering that's very compelling to the world. How do I know that? Because we're in decline here in the United States. And around the world, it's exploding. Consume me. So I'm going to close in a very weird, different way. You were given a little thingamabob on the way in, a little cup. It's called communion in a cup. A little wafer. Very convenient. Feels very American, doesn't it? So you were given it, but for a very good reason. I wanted you to hold on to it. Now, you may not have got one. You're saying, what are you talking about? I need one of these. Raise your hand if you didn't get one. I got some people coming down, and they want to give you one because it's delicious. That wafer tastes like nothing. I mean, literally. Don't open it. Don't do it. Well, I can already hear some people open it. That's fine. Just don't eat it yet. Just don't eat it yet. You can open it. Sure, let's get it over with. Just don't eat it. Because here's what I want you to do. We gave it to you intentionally. I wanted you to hold on to it. Hopefully some of you thought about it. This is weird. I hope you thought that, because it is. But at this end, we're gonna close with worship. And I just want you to stop and just pause in this moment. And I hope that you'll never take communion again the same. Man, that's my prayer today. I hope you'll never, ever look at this the same. Because every time you take it, this was Jesus' foreshadowing. The phrases that we're going to hear later on in Corinthians when it says, when you take this, do so in remembrance of me. My body, my blood. Eat me, drink me. Eat me, drink me. Consume me. And so the reason we continually do communion is it's that moment. It's not supposed to be a religious tradition. It's not supposed to be super formal. And I did this once, and I've been made fun of for years, but one time we had donuts and Coke just so that you wouldn't think about what you were taking. You had to think different because that's weird. And it's the same thing I'm asking you to do today. It's not about what you're taking. It's about who are you taking. What about you? Will you do it? Will you take him, consume him, let him be a part of your life? That third line. I just want to pray for you. Father, in the name of Christ, in this room, God, would you move? God, we come again. I'm asking for a miracle, but I'm not asking for the miracle of a fish. I'm not asking for food that's temporary. God, I'm praying, believing that in this room and in this moment right now, that you're going to show up. That you're going to convict hearts. And there are going to be some people in here that are like Peter. God, I do not get it. This is craziness. Everything that you're asking. Maybe even for some of us in this room, God, that you'll move in such a way that you're asking them to stop playing games of religion and stop going through the motions and really commit themselves to you fully. And yeah, it's crazy. But today, we eat your body and we drink your blood. God, use this moment to draw us back to yourself. And God, my prayer is this: would we live in such a way, would you transform us in such a way that it's contagious, that it's this natural outpouring, that God, in this room, that we have the deliverers of grace to hurting people. God, in this room, we have the deliverers of forgiveness, your message of forgiveness to people who don't feel like they deserve being forgiven. In this room, God, would you send out your disciples? We pray this in the name of Christ. Amen.